we made an announcement a couple of weeks ago that we will be coming to Marsiling Yew Tee here, sending a team here to contest in this constituency. And today we are fulfilling that promise, and we're here to introduce our slate of candidates for this constituency. And it really rounds up our northern strategy, if you will. And let me just be very specific. When we talk about northern strategy, what do we mean by that? The one thing that we're going to do is to campaign from Limpang, Yew Tee, right all the way to in Canberra, and the entire two GRCs, Sembawang GRCs, and of course Sembawang West. As far as I'm concerned, I'll be campaigning together with the two teams to make sure that we push our message across, which I'll talk a little bit about in later on. But that's the whole idea, to make sure that we form that solid block and to make this contest coherent with our messaging and everything, just that people can understand exactly what we're talking about and what we're fighting for. Order of events for today, I'm just going to say a few words, and I'm just going to ask the candidates to make a statement as well, and then thereafter we'll open up to any Q&A from you guys. So let me just very quickly just introduce you first, then I'll come back and address why SDP is here in Marsiling Yew Tee. But before we do that, to my right is Mr. Jufrey Salim. Let me just again also qualify that and say that because you've got it all our media packet, right, in terms of candidates' bio. Have we sent it to you? If not, we will get it to you. But I just don't want to belabor the point because all the it's kind of warm out here today as well. I just want to highlight some of the points in there, and thereafter you guys can pick it up and from our media packet that we're going to send to you. Okay. Now, to my right, as I said, is Jufri Salim. I'm sure all of you have seen Jufri around, hanging around in the SDP. And Jufri has been with us for a long time, and I would say that he's one of the stalwarts of our party. Of course, the leading Young Democrats, our youth wing, for a long time. Jufri is also primarily and most importantly our organizing secretary on all these events that we've held before, whether it's our anniversary dinner or whether it's this campaign. Jufri is in the thick of it, making sure that everything, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. All right. And Jufri is also is a songwriter and running his own company, and that's what been driving him on as well. I'm not sure if you've heard of our party song. Some of you might, but he was, I'm just take a bit of credit as well. We co-wrote that song in there, so it's important too. Okay, as I said, I'm not going to go into the details, but just to make sure that you guys get a flavor of it, and then please go into the bio, which you're going to all send to you in a little while. Okay, to his right is Mr. Alec Tok. I think you remember that in 2011, Alec stood as a candidate with the SDP. At that time was in Bukit Panjang, right? Yes. Alec is a director and filmmaker. If you can look at this bio in there, he's been staffed with SAF, music and drama company, and he's, been very instrumental in projecting Singapore into China as well. And we're very proud of him that he's come on board as a candidate at this time around. To my left is Dr. Gigene Wong. And it rings a bell? All right. Dr. Wong was with PSP in the last elections. She's with us right now and making sure that we continue to push forward the message that we want to get to Singaporeans in this election. Dr. Wong has got her doctorate and then masters also in international business and finance. Solidly there, that she will prosecute this point about our cost of living and how we can begin to manage our entire economic and finance system. Okay. To her left is Mr. Arifin Sha. Mr. Shah is, I think today, one of the youngest candidates. He's all of 27 years old, but don't let the number fool you in terms of his experience and his competence in dealing with some of the issues. Arifin is a legal executive, and as you probably will know by now, he also runs or at least manages a website and really talking about some of the social issues, political, economic issues in his website, Wake Up Singapore, right? I'm going to leave all of them to talk about their own views and present themselves to you. But before that happens, I just want to very quickly address this point on why we have come to Marsiling Yew Tee. Of course, the biggest point is that we've been here for the last 2-3 elections already, and we feel very at home here. The folks, if you look behind me, we've been walking the ground here, and I've been personally back here quite a number of times despite my own involvement with Bukit Batok. The point is that we've been campaigning here for a long time, and the residents here are very familiar with SDP. In this election, there's an impetus here on our presence because of none other than Mr. Lawrence Wong's candidacy here. Now, because he is the Secretary General of the PAP and Prime Minister, there is this added weight of national issues. He's just not only going to be answerable and appeal to MYT voters, but indeed throughout Singapore, based on these two very important issues, which again, repeatedly Singaporeans have said is front and center of their concerns. And these twin issues, cost of living and immigration, they're so intertwined that they're inextricably linked. So much so that when you talk of one, it's impossible not to mention the other. The first of all is the concern of Singaporeans that cost of living has, especially in the post-pandemic years, it's gone up so tremendously that many of them are feeling the strain of it. And Mr. Wong will say that it's due to global inflation. Well, evidence suggests otherwise, correct? You see anything from water, which just increased again this month, to bus MRT fares, to your healthcare costs, to BTO prices, all that have come on, petrol duty, all these have been undertaken by the PAP over the last few years. And it's very hard for him to make the case that the PAP has not had a hand in raising the cost of living. And on top of that, despite our campaigning in the last 2020, telling him of the difficulties Singaporeans are facing and not to proceed with the increase in GST, the government has seen it fit, right, to increase GST in 2023 and 2024. So he must, over and above telling Singaporeans that we're going to give you rebates and vouchers to help you cope with this cost of living. That is not sufficient, because what we want to tell Mr. Wong is that after 60 years of PAP rule, you are still telling Singaporeans to cope with the cost of living? That's not the answer going forward. We want to ask him to articulate a clear plan on how you are going to lower the cost of living. We have got plans. We have got ideas on how we can make sure that the cost of living is reduced, not just to keep increasing your cost of living, causing inflation to increase, and then give out vouchers. I'll let my colleagues expound on that idea, on our proposals, but right now I want to register this point, is that going forward into this election, Mr. Wong must clearly articulate a plan that will take Singapore and address the people's foremost concerns, and that's the rising cost of living in Singapore. Second point that I mentioned earlier on, and that's immigration. As I said, it's all intertwined. Last year, we saw a registered record of 1.94, around that number there, of foreigners in Singapore. And that's a huge concern because previously we've talked about population size. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, when he was still around, had said that he was not comfortable with 6.5 million people in Singapore, right? And he mentioned the figure of about 5.5 million. In its paper, the concept plan, if I recall correctly, under Goh Chok Tong's prime ministership, the number was about 5.5 million. Then under Mr. Lee Hsien Loong came out with a white paper on population, and he said 6.9 million. There was a huge backlash, and the government retreated. Here's the question. Mr. Wong, Lawrence Wong as PM, has not mentioned anything in terms of where he's going to take Singapore as far as population size is concerned. Okay, you cannot do that. Before elections, you want to clearly tell the electorate where does he see Singapore going next 5 years. We have surpassed the 6 million mark. Is 6.5 million still in the cards? If he is, he needs to tell Singaporeans and then lay out a very clear plan in terms of infrastructure, whether it's housing, whether it's transport, whether it's jobs. How is he going to handle, okay, those concerns of Singaporeans? Overcrowded, overpopulation here. You cannot leave it nebulous, right? And then just avoid talking about where Singapore is going to be next 5 to 10 years. That's hugely important. Singaporeans are going to be watching him. We, as in the team here, is certainly going to be watching him as we go forward into this election. So this is the one thing that we are going to be talking about between now, during our rallies, right up until cooling off day. Mr. Wong must clearly articulate his plans for Singapore and let the voters decide. I've said already, because the indicators are not encouraging. When you have a huge, massive influx of foreign population, it pushes up our cost of living. Simple law of demand, right, will dictate that prices all will be going up. How is he going to express his point? And equally important, but much less mentioned, is this crisis situation that we are facing with our psychological health, our mental health in the population. I can cite you statistics, but I won't, because I'll leave you in the interest of time. But please, I know that you published it, Business Times. Who are you from Business Times? Anybody? Your newspaper has actually described the situation as epidemic in proportion. Okay? World Health, mental health organizations have come up and said Singapore's situation is in a crisis mode. So he's got to come up and tell us what is he going to do about it, because two factors that hit mental health very hard, and that is one, cost of living. Survey after survey has shown that. Your overcrowded population, overcrowded city here, adds immensely to the problem of mental health in Singapore. So these are some of the issues that we're going to be prosecuting going into these elections, and we are going to make sure that the public is informed of them, and then we want to invite Mr. Lawrence Wong and his leadership to address some of these concerns of the people. I've gone on long enough. I just want to then turn the mic over to Mr. Juffrey and let him introduce himself as well and make a very brief statement to all of you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jufrey Salim, the Organizing Secretary of the SDP. I would like to start. Setiap kali berhadapan dengan sesuatu situasi yang mencabar, saya selalu teringat kepada pesanan arwah bapa saya yang selalu mengingatkan saya dengan kata pepatah Melayu, pantang mundur sebelum berjuang. Saya berpegang kepada nasihat ini hingga hari ini apabila saya di dalam keadaan yang sukar, untuk mengingatkan saya untuk tidak senang menyerah kalah. Now we understand that we are walking into the lion's den, but at SDP we share one common thing, and that is the never say die attitude. We are not new to this ground. SDP has contested in Marsiling Yew Tee GRC in 2015 and 2020. We have an excellent grassroots team, and over 70% of them make up of grassroots, the people who are staying here in Marsiling Yew Tee GRC. A big shout out to the SDP Marsiling Yew Tee grassroots team headed by Dr Salim for the dedication and hard work they have put in since GE 2015. We want to improve Singaporeans' quality of life by reducing the cost of living, such as scrapping the GST for all essential items, removing of tax on water, affordable public transportation, reduce GST from 9% to 7%, and affordable healthcare costs. Among these, we also propose an alternative healthcare plan to replace the current 3M system, your MediSave, MediShield, and MediFunds, prioritizing equitable healthcare access based on need rather than the ability to pay. We also emphasize on healthy work-life balance to maintain positive mental well-being for Singaporeans and to prioritize Singaporeans when it comes to job security and opportunity. It would bring great honor to the team and I to serve the residents of the Marsiling Yew Tee GRC. And we all know yesterday, PM Wong says he expects a fierce contest. Well, I don't know about fierce, but we are sure to put up a good fight and win the hearts of the residents to deny them of a blank check. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Alec Tok. Well, Dr. Chee and Mr. Jufrey Salim have briefly spoken about Singaporeans' concerns about the cost of living. Let me now just take the argument slightly further. How much has Mr. Lawrence Wong's insistence on raising the GST to 9% contributed to Singaporeans' hardship today? Do you think that the increase in our hardship has only increased 2%? I mean, with goods and services arriving at our doorstep, only after one vendor passes it on to another vendor, the increase in burden for us is much more than that. This series of increases in this local supply chain has caused the burden to be much too much for us to bear. So this election, we and I have a few questions to ask the Prime Minister, Mr. Lawrence Wong. What is it going to take for him to consider bringing down GST to 7%? What is it going to take for the US to raise their tariffs back to 10%? Or for ASEAN and Singapore to be entering a even more turbulent stage because of the China-US trade war? Or is he never going to bring it down? Never. No U-turn. Well, tell us. Tell us. Tell the residents of Marsiling Yew Tee. The next question I want to ask him is, how much does he think his government's foreign talent policy has increased the burden of the underemployed and the unemployed? Or does he think that they are too small in number for him to give this his fullest attention? The next question I want to ask him is, on the issue of just thinking about cost of living alone is not enough. Foreign talent policy in Singapore has failed and displaced Singaporeans. We have to undo this. Undoing this alone will unleash a burst of energy and ambition that has been subdued, submerged, suppressed for so long. It can only be good for Singaporeans. Our job this election is to compel the Prime Minister to answer these questions and to give the residents of Marsiling Yew Tee a clear answer. I mean, Dr. Chee spoke about population, right? Yes. What is this number that you are going to be increasing our population to? 7 million? 8 million? 10 million? Well, tell us. Tell the residents of Marsiling Yew Tee. You can count on me, you can count on SDP to ask these questions throughout this election until we get clear answers. Until then, we will not rest. Thank you.
Let me then very quickly invite Dr. Wong. I feel a few drops of rain already, but let's continue until we cannot hold out anymore. Shall we? Get Dr. Wong to come up and address you.
亲爱的马西岭油池集选区的居民，你们大家好，我是袁其军 Gigene Wong。我想请问大家，这5年来你们过得好不好？回想起2020年大选以前，我们的一盒鸡蛋，30粒的一盒鸡蛋，3块8一盒。今天我们的一盒鸡蛋6块8一盒，还是 special offer， 大家还要去抢。前2天我去巴萨，卖菜的安迪告诉我，今2天吼，下个月吼，阁有 CDC voucher 咧，真正欢喜咧。真正欢喜，有 CDC 包着。我们新加坡是个发达的国家，听清楚了，发达的国家，不是发展中国家。我们人民的工资水平也是世界领先的。我们有很好的大学，很有名的大学，也是世界级的。我们的港口码头。我们的樟宜机场每年都拿到世界第1，我们的金融业、银行业都很发达。为什么我们的人民需要每个月去盼望着拿 CDC voucher？ 为什么？我们真的要问问我们自己，到底发生了什么事情？这个 CDC voucher。就好像我们搭过油宝，一地，搁一地，搁一地，下个月无水无啊，政府讲，现在加一地啦，搭。你一直贴，一直贴，请问你们大家，这个伤口得到解决了吗？你这个病到底有没有医呢？你一地过油宝会好无？这个是不是我们想要生活的方式？这个是不是新加坡的将来？我们需要做到这样吗？我们是一个发达的国家，人民素质很高的。现在我们要搞到这样，60年了，我们成立了国家已经60年了，好像在走倒车路。这个是我们想要的明天吗？问题到底出在哪里 ？Where is the problems？ 有问题无？问恁家己有无？我们是新加坡人，我们一直很骄傲，我们新加坡人。现在我觉得有点伤心，我们要靠着 CDC 包就来过生活。问题到底出在哪里呢？我们的政府没有从根源上、根本上去解决我们人民的问题。没有，一党专政太多年了，我们的政府已经跟人民脱节了，他不了解我们的痛苦，不了解我们的需求。现在是时候，我们要做出改变。 我们 SDP 人民民主党没有 CDC voucher， 可是我们有一颗心，我们真的有一颗真正纯的心，没有杂念的，就是为人民谋取福利。所以，我恳求你们，将我们的团队送进国会去，让我们帮助国家真正的出谋献策，规划好的政策来帮助大家，帮助新加坡，帮助新加坡人民，真正的从根源上解决问题。我们不要发生的问题现在来解决，我们要有这个看到问题不能够现在来解决，我们要有一个之前的那种认知，要知道我们前面会发生什么，先提早做好准备来解决问题，而不是事后诸葛亮。所以我想跟大家说的是，今天你们如果拿到 CDC voucher 很好，恭喜你们，大家都很开心。可是明天那边又涨价了，这个方式是不可持续的。所以再一次的恳求大家，把我们的团队送进国会，真正的帮大家解决问题。谢谢。
Thank you, Dr. Gigene Wong. Just want to call upon Arifin Sha to come out and address you for a little bit.
Basically, we are well aware of the task that lies ahead of us, right? Every sitting Prime Minister, save for one instance, has consistently scored above 70% in every general election, sometimes even 80, 90%. So we know the fight that lies ahead of us. But today, what I want to focus on is something close to my heart, which is the concerns of young people. My colleagues, Dr. Chee, Jufri, Gigene, and Alec have spoken about what can be termed as a cost of living crisis in Singapore, right? But what I want to touch on is a slightly different but closely interlinked crisis. In Marsiling Yew Tee, 1 in 3 are aged below 25 and below, right? So we have a very young population here. Close to 9% thanks to graphics from the Straits Times. Close to 9% are voting for the first time. And so the needs and concerns of young voters, even though they may not be able to vote yet, will form a large part of what we plan to do on the ground. And last year, there was a very alarming study released by IMH, which shows that 1 in 3 young people in Singapore suffer severe symptoms or extremely severe symptoms of anxiety, depression, or stress. Make no mistake, my friends, this is nothing short of a mental health crisis in Singapore. And this mental health crisis is exacerbated by the cost of living crisis that we are already going through. And you know, it's very easy to dismiss the concerns of young Singaporeans by saying that, oh, this is the strawberry generation, they care too much about work-life balance, right? But you see, the secret lies in what I call the ROI on hard work, the return on investment for hard work. We have all heard anecdotes about blue-collar workers in the 70s and the 80s about how they can, you know, let's say drive a taxi and still put food on the family, still afford a HDB. But can a young person graduate, I see many young journalists here, can a young person graduating honestly say that they have the same level of opportunity here, right? Look at the immense pressures, of the education system, the housing system, the cost of housing and the cost of living. And let's not even get started on the mental capacity and the cost of wanting to bear a child. So young people face an increasing level of burnout and motivation, but with respect, do we really expect million-dollar ministers to understand that? Do we expect million-dollar ministers to understand the kind of faces that we see on the trains and the buses every day when we go to work? You know, there was a time where young Singaporeans used to dream about the 5 C's. Remember that? Yeah? But these days, we don't hear too much about the 5 C's anymore. Of course, the powers that be want you to believe that that's because the young people are not so materialistic. Well, that's only half the story. The truth is the 5 Cs are simply unattainable for many Singaporeans, many young Singaporeans. And the 1 C that our society deeply needs now is compassion. We need more of compassion, right? We don't have space, we don't have, the mental capacity to dream. But we must not lose hope. There is a new way forward where all of us can thrive and not just survive. As Dr. Chee has repeatedly said, 6 decades of uninterrupted one-party rule, but we're still talking about, for example, discounted hawker food, discounted eggs, discounted breakfast sets. Let's take a step back and look and have a good hard look at where the future of Singapore is heading. We do not want a future where Singaporeans are mere economic digits. We need to ask tough questions and face reality, and that's what we will do. And this is quite important. What matters particularly in the battle for Marsiling Yew Tee GRC is not just who wins, but the margin of victory. History has shown that the smaller the margin of victory, the better the policies and welfare for the people. The results of GE 2011 and GE 2020 have made this clear. So that's where we think that smaller margins of victory lead to better policies, better welfare. Finally, being an MP is a lot more than just erecting sheltered walkways. What we need is for people to speak up in Parliament and make the voices of Singaporeans heard. Now, many young Singaporeans, when they go for interviews, we are often asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Honestly, this is a question that's very difficult to answer because, of the amount, the stresses that people are facing. But this is the time for us to ask Mr. Lawrence Wong, where, as Dr. Chee has said, where do we see Singapore in the next 5 years? And during COVID and even now, our $1 million ministers like to say that we are in this together, we are all on the same boat. Are we really on the same boat? Because it looks like we are on a sampan and they are on a mega yacht, right? Voters of Marsiling Yew Tee, this is your golden opportunity to step up and make your vote count. Send a signal that will be heard from West Coast to the East Coast to show that all is not okay and the mandate must be earned. We need to fundamentally relook the direction we are heading in as a society. We, the team, we will fight the good fight in Marsiling Yew Tee. And finally, a special call to all young voters in Marsiling, Yew Tee, Sembawang, Woodlands. This is for you. Hope you can step up and join us and we can walk this path together. It's time for all of us to thrive, not just survive. And more than winning your votes, we hope to win your hearts. Thank you.
Thank you everybody. We'd just like to open up to a very brief Q&A. If you have any questions for our candidates, please feel free to ask it now. Yes. Yes. Sure.
So, I know that the slate, your slate for Marsiling Yew Tee includes Dr. Chee Wong as well as Mr. Alec Tok, who previously ran under the banner of other parties. If residents come up to you and they were to express kind of discomfort as to, or kind of question the loyalty and commitment of both of them as candidates, given their past records, how would you reassure them on the front?
In the question of loyalty, the only thing that I find relevant in these elections is the loyalty to the Republic of Singapore. That's it. That's it. And as far as parties, I want you to just hear what Dr. Gigene Wong said, what Alec Tok just said, what Jufri and Arifin said. It resonates with Singaporeans. And that's because we've been on the ground, we're listening to Singapore, and then we're reflecting some of their concerns. So going forward, going into this election, that's what we'll be campaigning on. That's what we'll be telling Singaporeans.
Then on that front, could I invite Mr. Tok and Dr. Wong to maybe share about why they decided to join the SDP for this round of GE?
I think of myself sometimes as a Premier League, kind of like a Premier League opposition politician. I'm glad I had the opportunity to help start a brand new party that is gaining strength, and it's quite up and coming today. I'm very happy that the RDU has lived up to the opposition standards by pulling out of the coalition because they wanted to support the ideals of opposition unity. I think I've done the right thing in helping to launch that party. But like a good player, I go where the next team feels that there is a need for me. And today, I feel that the need is here, the need is in SDP. I do not believe that any resident in Marsiling Yew Tee will find my participation in this election suspicious, suspect, or inadequate.
Speaking of Premier League, let's not go into whether it's Liverpool or Manchester United. We're just going to keep that aside. Even we're in red. That's all that matters. Okay, any other questions, guys? Yes.
I think I need
Sure.
to
Yeah,
raise
please,
my-
please, come.
我先用中文跟大家讲一下吧，因为大家都用了英语，所以我希望用一个中文跟大家表达一下，为什么我会参加这
Oh,
个
wait,
政
they
党，
might want to switch to the Chinese.
跟大家分享一下。5年前我从中国回来，因为陈金木医生跟我打电话，叫我回来参选。我24小时之内呢，我就辞职了，我放弃我在中国的一个很好的工资待遇。我在中国呢生活了25年，我是被外派出去的，新加坡的女儿被派出国的，就好像你们当兵的 NS service， 为新加坡的繁荣和进步，也是在那边创造一些新加坡的一个传奇吧。我在中国做了25年的工作，然后呢，5年前呢，陈清木医生跟我打电话，叫我回来新加坡参选，他说我需要你，你回来吧。我24小时我辞职，我回来了。我回来新加坡为什么呢？因为我是新加坡的女儿 ，I'm a daughter of Singapore. I feel your pain. 你们痛了，我知道，我也很心痛。我们以前一直把这个国家给政府管理，可是我觉得出了问题了，有一点问题发生了，所以我放弃了我的中国很舒适的生活，我回来了。所以今天你们问到为什么我会参加民主党，其实作为反对党，我们没有政党的分别，就好像徐博士说的，我们是新加坡人，我们是一家人，我们都在为大家争取利益。虽然我今天参加了民主党，可是我可以告诉你，昨天、前天、大前天，那个 PSP 的人还有跟我打电话，说我们有问题，你可以帮我吗？你可以帮我吗？我一直在帮他们解决问题的。所以我们不应该要把这个政党这个牌子挂在明面上，我们要把新加坡的人的心放在心里面。谢谢大家。
Anything else? One last question. It's getting a bit warm and humid. Yes, sir.
Dr. Chee, Firdaus here from Berita Harian. So maybe could you clarify for us the key considerations behind the selection of candidates for Marsiling Yew Tee GRC, and perhaps one for Mr. Juffrey for Berita Harian. I was wondering, Encik Daman Puri pernah bertanding di Gigene untuk Gigene 2015 dan 2020. Adakah anda pernah berhubungan dengan dia termasuk lebih lanjut dengan
Well, the very simple answer is that I don't have to say very much other than for you to hear what they've said. And I'm just very glad that you are here to witness for yourselves very able exponents of SDP's principles, our stand, and the issues that we'll be talking about in this election. Their presentation speaks for themselves. I don't have to add anything to it. Yeah, Jufri, you want to?
Yeah. You want it in English or Malay?
Malay.
Malay, okay. Okay, berbalik kepada soalan Encik Firdaus tadi tentang soalan tentang Daman Huri. Encik Daman Huri pernah bertanding di Marsiling Yew Tee dari 2015 hingga ke 2020. Dan jika saya dan Daman pernah bekerjasama, pernah berhubungan untuk yeah, okay. So the thing is, saya dengan Daman, we go long back lah, about 10 years already now, Daman. In fact, untuk pengongsian anda, saya dengan Daman pernah keluar negara bersama ke Mongolia. Jadi kita hubungan kami agak rapat. Jadi dengan saya ke sini dan dia pula berada di Sembawang, itu juga menunjukkan kami semua bersatu padu demi strategi parti SDP untuk maju dan bangkit ke hadapan. Jadi dengan ini saya rasa saya dapat jawab soalan anda. Kalau sekiranya ada kekurangan lagi.
Soalan lebih lanjut, apakah isu-isu yang mungkin Cik Daman Nuri pernah ketengahkan
Okey.
penduduk di sini ke?
Selalunya kalau masalah di sini selalunya tetap kos sara hidup lah. Boleh tanya Cik Daman juga. Itu paling penting lah kerana di Marsiling terutama sekali ini daerah Marsiling sini ya. Kalau yang di estate lama kebanyakannya orang-orang yang dah berumur. Jadi mereka perlukan bantuan dan sokongan. Jadi daripada era 2015 tu, GE 2015 hingga ke 2020, masalah dia tetap sama dan saya dalam perjalanan saya daripada 2020 hingga ke 2025 pula berjalan di kawasan undi Marsiling Yew Tee ni, masalah dia tidak berubah. Paling tinggi tetap kos sara hidup. It's the cost of living. That is the main issue.
Thank you. Just a couple more, then we'll have to pull this through. And I think I saw that hand up here first. Ma'am, yes.
So SDP recently had a talk with NSP about broadening a multi-cornered fight right in Sembawang GRC, but both parties were unable to reach an agreement. Can you comment on that? And my second question is to Arifin. Can you comment on entering politics and why SDP?
I didn't hear the second part of it.
Why?
So recently had a talk with NSP about avoiding a multi-cornered fight in
Yes.
Sembawang GRC, but both parties were unable to reach an agreement. Can you comment on that?
Well, we're still in discussion, and I don't intend to pursue our discussions through the media. But as I've said before, we're always keeping our communications channel open, and we'll just leave it that we're still talking to each other. That's all. Yes, any other questions?
Sorry, my second part of the question is to Arifin about on entering politics and why SDP.
Yeah, I think if I can summarize it in one word, is consistency. You see, many ideas that the policy shifts that we have seen in recent times, the SDP, I think Dr. Chee published Dare to Change in 1994, right? So even when it was unpopular, SDP stood its ground and advocated for many policies, which the government of the day is adopting some of them in recent times. So it's the consistency over the years. It's easy to stand for something, to speak about something when it's already popular, but when it's not popular, to have the conviction to go in there and advocate for these things, I think that's what attracted me to SDP, the consistency over the 3 decades.
Dr. Chee,
Yes.
will the SDP be fielding candidates in any other constituencies besides the 2 GRCs?
Yes, I think what we're going to do now is, as I said, that we're still in discussions with the other opposition parties, and if it so happens that we will be going to a constituency, we will make the announcement and we will inform all you. But for now, we just want to focus on Marsiling Yew Tee today. I think you've got enough there to be able to really look into the meat of the issue in this elections. We'll do that, everything else, when the time comes.
Dr. Chee, one
Right.
final question
Yes.
to ask relating to Mr. Arifin.
Sure.
So, of course, the reality is that despite his express contrition and despite the case, the criminal defamation case of him being concluded, there might be voters who would be concerned about his integrity arising from that case, right? So I was wondering, what would you say to reassure voters?
Let's not go into integrity and so on, because I distinctly remember the Speaker of the House, not just the Speaker, but previous couple of speakers, some other speakers had these issues as well. And look, to be very honest with you, I think it's something which we want to be able to address. People make mistakes all the time. You ask Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, he had also stumbled when it came to the matter over the Tan Chuan Jin affair. We want to be judged by the same standards, and whatever that's done, I just want to make sure that going forward into this election, let's not get into this situation where we're just doing character assassination, personal demonization. That's not in keeping with a mature, civilized election campaign.
What if a resident approaches you with that concern, Dr. Chee?
Oh, sure. I mean, I'll tell them the same thing of what I'm telling you right now. Let's just talk about ideas. You remember Margaret Thatcher said, big minds talk about issues, small minds talk about persons. So let's not get into this situation where we're mudslinging, and then it does the voters no good, because we've laid out, Mr. Arifin has very ably laid out the case for younger Singaporeans to take note. and we want Singapore election system, political system to mature into a higher level where we can talk about issues and not go back into past practices where we're just destroying people in terms of talking about their personalities, and that's just not helpful as far as the voters is concerned. And there's a huge concern of voters. They want to focus on the issues. Anything else?
Okay, I have a question for Encik Jufri.
Oh,
In Malay, please. Apakah
Okay.
antara isu berkaitan masyarakat?
and you are from which media?
I'm from Berita Media Corp.
Berita Media Corp. Okay.
Apakah antara isu berkaitan masyarakat?
Tak apa-apa, saya boleh.
Boleh ya?
Boleh.
Terima kasih. Marisa.
Jadi apakah antara isu berkaitan masyarakat dan Islam yang anda harap untuk berjuang atau atasi jika anda dipilih, dan bagaimana latar belakang anda boleh bantu anda dalam menyumbang dalam usaha ini? Dan kedua, sudah berapa lama anda berinteraksi dan juga mendampingi masyarakat di Marsiling Yew Tee, dan bagaimana respons mereka?
Okey. Terutama sekali masalah yang kami hadapi dengan komuniti Melayu Islam Singapura lah. Seperti saya cakap tadi, masalah pertama tetap kos sara hidup, kos perumahan. Kerana kos perumahan sekarang agak tinggi lah. Dengan harga 4 bilik, 5 bilik, kalau di sini pun sudah hampir 500-600 ribu. Jadi ramai yang kira worried or macam apa orang cakap, memikirkan masa depan anak cucu mereka lah. Itu satu. Jadi bila waktu saya berinteraksi dengan mereka sewaktu walkabout, house visit, again, it's the same thing. It's still about the cost of living, especially untuk masyarakat kita ini. Dan yang ada juga menerima bantuan tapi tidak mencukupi. Itu satu juga. Dan kalau awak tanya tentang jika saya punya latar belakang, dengan latar belakang saya ni apa yang saya dapat membantu, latar belakang saya sebagai orang seni lah. Berinteraksi banyak dengan orang yang daripada berbagai lapisan masyarakat. Dengan itu saya rasa saya dapat lebih memahami orang-orang daripada golongan-golongan yang daripada, kita bukan saya nak cakap tentang kasta lah, tapi maksudnya itu daripada golongan-golongan yang berbeza, daripada pendapatan seperti lower income, middle income, higher income. Kerana dalam seni itu kita berjumpa ramai orang. Kita jumpa orang yang daripada tinggal di rumah sewa di HDB, orang yang tinggal di banglo. Jadi kita berinteraksi dengan semua itu, dengan semua orang-orang itu. Jadi saya rasa dengan itu saya lebih selesa untuk menyediakan hubungan manusia lah, seperti PR lah dengan orang-orang masyarakat Marsiling Yew Tee ini. Dan saya juga telah berjalan dengan pasukan Marsiling Yew Tee sejak 2020, right after the GE 2020. Then we did cross constituency. Saya juga bergerak di Sembawang GRC di 2023, 2022-2023. Tapi kita selalu lakukan walkabout cross constituency, dan juga during house visit, lawatan rumah ke rumah, kita juga akan crossover. Because anyway, these constituencies are neighbouring constituencies, and we already expected things like this to happen.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We'll just, if there anything else, let's just very. Gigene has already addressed. Let me defer to Gigene, because last week I did as well already. Okay 了，我是觉得现在
Sorry.
Sorry.
Change language. You need a magic cup.
We need a big
I'm sorry,
water, magic water.
我们现在是很关心了我们的生活费。我们在这区马斯林 UT 的这区，因为是总理黄总理在这边的候选人，我们觉得他应该跟选民解释说为什么我们在这个时候过了那个COVID-19，他一直要把 GST 我们消费税对不对再增加，给人家的生活困难，真的很痛苦。我刚刚有在Sembawang西的时候过来，以前我有跟他们吃早餐，每个都跟我们讲说他们真的过得还是很不简单。那昨天我们有这个分这个干料昨天早上我们下来的时候，一整排在那边安迪安哥都是退休的，有时候他们跟我们讲是过得很真的很不简单。你说公积金呢？公积金就是说还了那个他们的政府主务的过了，钱的不很多，一个月大概 300、400块，哪里够用？所以这个我们要跟Prime Minister Wong Lawrence Wong 要跟选民问题就跟他们讲清楚，说为什么他一直要我们把我们的消费税一直增加给人家，不只是他们的电啦、水啦、车油啦坐 bus MRT 这些东西都是一直起价。我跟你讲，人家真的很受不了，他也应该了解。他如果有下来跟大家沟通那样子的时候，他应该了解这些问题。所以在这个大选的时候，我们很注意这一点。OK， 谢谢大家 ，Thank you so much everybody，Thank you。